Joining me now for more on the lack of leadership, which is putting it mildly, coming from the White House, former Republican strategist Steve Schmidt. Steve, I wanted to talk to you because I keep thinking about this piece a writer named Alex Perrine wrote a few years ago. He basically made this was the case he made. He said basically for a long time, conservative media had sort of two echelons. There was talk radio and other things for the base. And there was a lot of conspiratorial stuff. There was a lot of hawking of supplements and things like that. And then there was a kind of like elites who consumed other stuff. You know, they read a variety of newspapers. And then at a certain point, like the people who only consumed the universe of right-wing media actually became the decision makers. They became the people running for office. They became the people elected to president. And then this is what you end up with when that happens.
Well, good evening, Chris. Total insanity for sure. And when we look out at the whole spectrum of the nonsense that's communicated to the American people through the vast and sophisticated Trump propaganda network that's heavily influenced by misinformation that's intended to divide the American people, put into the social media sphere by hostile foreign intelligence services, it's a real threat to the comedy in our country. And so we've seen all of this play out over the course of this pandemic. We've seen a president of the United States standing behind the podium blazoned with the seal of the presidency, saying, inject disinfectants, saying that I'm taking this malaria drug that could kill him. Over and over and over again, the American people have been subjected to wave after wave of idiocy, of asininity, of misinformation from the president of the United States. And what it all adds up to is the most inept and incompetent response to a crisis that's conceivable to imagine. This is the worst response by an American leader, certainly by a president, but by any American leader in a time of testing crisis in our nation's history. It's appallingly bad. And so as we talk right now, more Americans will be dead by the dawn. We're approaching 100,000 dead Americans because of the abject incompetence and mishandling of this by Donald Trump. And when you sit there and you look at Alex Jones and you look at Laura Ingraham and Judge Jeanine and all of them, I mean, each and every one is in their own right spectacularly nuts as they go on and they talk about this stuff, and that there are vulnerable people out there watching these people who make $5, 10, 15, 20, $30 million a year, following their advice, endangering themselves. It's just tragic. It's such a lethal con and fraud that's perpetrated by these people on the American people. It's just not a word for it. It's just despicable.
But here's the thing about that. I agree with much of that. But what is even more mind-blowing to me, and in some ways more depressing and more sort of a desperate situation, is that the con includes the president. Like, he believes the con. That he thinks, he watches a bunch of people on Trump TV say this drug it's a miracle and they don't want you to have it, and all the liberal people are out to get you, so you should take it. And he's actually taking it because, like, he's a mark for this stuff too. And that's the guy that's running the country.
Well, absolutely. Look, Donald Trump is many things. He's dishonest. He's lied to the American people more than 17,000 times. He's completely corrupt. He's indecent. He's vile. He's divisive. But in this moment, the thing that matters the most, and I don't say this to name call, but he's an imbecile. There's no other word for it. That's the precise word we use in the English language to describe his comportment, to describe his behavior. Most powerful person in the world, who told the American people when there were 15 cases that this would be gone, it would disappear like it was magic, told the American people that the Chinese government was on top of this, told the American people the way you deal with this is maybe by injecting or consuming disinfectants. Every day has been the achievement of a new stratosphere of just abject idiocy. flowing out from the White House. So it's the mismanagement of the crisis. And while that's going on, we see the continual assault on our democratic institutions, the undermining of the rule of law, the institutionalization of the corruption of this administration through the attorney general, the firing of the inspector generals, and on it goes.